Yo, people, please forgive me for missing some days. I know I said I was going to try to do a video a day, but I'm human. Saturday was another. I think I'm just going to take Saturday as like Saturday's off if I don't record. I may record just to record because I owe you guys, but if I don't record on Saturdays, it's a day off. So, and yesterday, no excuses. So sometimes my body acts up. Like today, my bladder acts up. I decided to just try to tell you guys everything as much as I can without getting too much into details. So sometimes when my bladder acts up, it makes me feel like I have to use the bathroom when I don't have to use the bathroom. So I explained dysreflexia earlier in an earlier episode. Dysreflexia is for quads. I don't know if paras get it anyway. So dysreflexia is it's it for quads. It's symptoms that let us know that something's wrong with our body. And sometimes our body thinks something's wrong with it even when it's not. For example, I know when I have to use the bathroom, go pee. My body lets me know by I get like some type of I get goosebumps and my blood pressure rises, and when my blood pressure rises, it makes me get some type of form of a headache. This is probably like a filler episode. I'll probably get into a little bit of the story just to give you guys some details of why I might miss days. So when my bladder acts it up, it makes me feel like I have to pee when I don't have to pee. And if I was to try to help myself go pee, it's going to make it worse. So what I have to do is I have to trick my bladder what I feel like I do. So I drink a whole bunch of fluids, and once I drink all these fluids, I wait an hour or two when I know my bladder is full, and then that's when I use the bathroom, and that kind of resets it. It usually works, sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, so that's what's going on today. And what helps it is when I recline, when I relieve, I guess, pressure off my bladder when I'm not sitting too forward. So this is why I'm reclining a little more than usual, and why you'll see me reclining when the pain comes and it gets worse and goes away, whatever. Anyways, so yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was telling you guys about my lovely cousin who was one of the first few people to learn how to take care of me, and just giving you guys some stories of what we would do together and how he was. And yeah, some things that I remember after my cousin is while we were living with my mom's friend, like I said, we were homeless, we had nothing, and we were trying to figure out what's the next best thing we could do as far as us having our own place to stay. So my mom was, asking around, and my aunt had mentioned to her the projects, because if you're poor, there's housing for people that are poor. And because I was disabled, when you're poor, you get housing, and if you have a disabled member and you're poor and you have kids, it's like a triple, like you get it type thing, like quickly. If you have kids, you get it. If you are poor, you get it. There's certain things that help you get these project housing, and if you have all three, it's like quickly you get it quicker than most who only have one, two of the things. If you have all three, they're like, oh, we got to get you off the streets. So when my mom was looking into getting housing, she found us a way into the projects, and it was scary at first. It was scary the whole situation. Where I'm from, the projects are ran by gangs, or there's a lot of gangs in the projects. There's two different projects where I'm from. There's Guthrie projects. You guys can Google this, and there's West Calumet projects. I don't know if these projects are still around, but they were when I was living back home in 2005. Anyways, so Guthrie is way scarier. And no disrespect to Guthrie, West Calumet. I'm not trying to say Guthrie is more gangster than West Calumet or whatever. These are just my opinions of what I think and what I saw. So, and the reason why I think Guthrie is more scarier is because if you guys ever seen Training Day, like when they drive up to that complex where the dude is clapping his hands for the birds, and it's a block that is ran by these people. That's what reminds me of Guthrie. Like it's just a block. You just drive down this block, and to your left is all these projects, and these guys are just scary looking, gangster looking. Before my accident, I accidentally Drove my bike through there one time, and I got drove right back out because people chased me out, and I happily rolled out. I'm not no liar. I'm not making up no story that I got off my bike and tried to fight them. No, those men looked like they were there for business, and something told me if they catch up with you, that's the end of your life. So I, like a little girl, I don't care what y'all call me. I was in the wrong neighborhood, trying to act tough, and I got chased out. So that's an idea of Guthrie. Um, the other projects is West Calumet. West Calumet is way bigger than Guthrie. So West Calumet, they have a closed, gated projects, and then outside of the projects that's closed and gated, they have like what I felt were regular houses, but that was a part of the projects. I can't really explain that more because I didn't really know about it until after I left. But anyways, let me tell you what I know. So, like I said, West Calumet projects and the Guthrie projects. So when my mom was trying to get us into these places for us to have a place to stay, she told whoever was trying to help us, we for sure can't last on Guthrie. We probably won't last in West Calumet, but we have a better chance in West Calumet than we do Guthrie because Guthrie is a scary place. And my mom had an idea of who my brother was, who I was. I'm not saying we're some big time people, but we grew up around some guys, and the guys that we grew up around were affiliated with a gang. So these guys, some gangs didn't like the gang that we were affiliated around, and the West Calumet projects didn't really care too much about the gang I was affiliated around. And then um, my one of my friends, he knew one of the guys in the projects, one of the big guys. They were in juvie together, and my friend had a talk with the guy, like, "Hey, my homie's gonna be living in this project. Is he cool? What do we need to know?" And the dude was like, "Man, we don't care about you guys. You guys are cool." And I don't know how to break it down, but the gang that we used to be affiliated by or close by, there was two sides of them. There was Train 9 where I grew up. I grew up on 139th of Alder Street, and then there's 149th. And so there's two different sets, I would say. There's the South Side guys, you could call them, and then there's the Harbor Side guys, you could say. I'm from the Harbor. I'm from, like I said, 139th Alder Street. And if you look up where it's going to say the Harbor Side, or it's, because we have names for things. Anyway, so the West Calumet projects, those guys didn't care about the harbor people. They didn't like the South Side people. Reason being is because the South Side was close to the projects. So I'm guessing anytime anybody from the projects went to the South Side and the South Side guys would see them, they mess with them, fight with them, and so the guys from West Calumet didn't like the guys from the South Side. And they told us, they were like, "Hey, I know all of y'all are in the same thing. As long as they don't come around, or if they do come around, and if they do act stupid, y'all gonna have to deal with the consequences." That's what my friend told me, "Hey, bro," because I didn't really chill with the guys from the South Side at this point. I was more chilling with the guys from the Harbor, and my brother was more closer with the guys from the South Side. So we just had a talk. Told everybody, if anybody comes to visit us from my side and his side, like, "Hey, we don't want no problems with nobody. We live here. Yeah, we chill with you guys or whatnot, but when you guys are at our part are here, you show them guys respect because we're living in their territory, and you respect us by showing them respect. Don't disrespect our house. Don't disrespect them, because God only knows what happened if you disrespect them." Like I said, if you Google, I don't know if it's still around, but if you could get images from 2005 until 2009, it's a gated area, and there's only one entrance. I mean, there was two entrances, but the other entrance was hard to cross because it's hard to explain. You got to Google it. So once you're in these gates, You're these guys they could do whatever they want with you if you don't know where to go, where to run. Like, they run the entire thing. So I knew I wasn't going to do nothing stupid. I knew I wasn't going to try to act tough with none of these guys ever. So, anyways, my mom told whoever was trying to help us get into housing, we can't live in the Guthrie projects. If there's projects we could live in, it would be West Calumet. If you could try to get us into West Calumet, that'll be great. And then she wanted us to have a all level apartment, because I'm paralyzed. Obviously, it would have been more easier, and you would think that that's what they would provide. So, living with my mom's friend, trying to get on this housing. I just remember praying, 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 and by the grace of God, God always had our back. Anyway, so by the grace of God, I forgot it was around. I don't know if it was still 2005. Let's just say 2006. So got injured in January 2005. Went to Loyola and then Shriners, then my grandpa's, then my aunts, then my mom's friend. So like I said, it this was probably the ending of 2005, if not for sure. Let's just say 2006. No, I want to say it was 2005 because I have a story that goes with this that I let's just say 2005 and the ending of 2005 we end up getting this housing to live in the projects. I was so excited, nervous at the same time because when we were living with people, I always had people besides my mom in case something were to happen. Like I explained earlier, my mom, used to indulge with alcohol very badly. So there'd be some nights where she would be hard to wake up. There'd be some nights where she would go places and not come home for late hours. And my aunt would help me use the bathroom. Thank God for my aunt. Her friend, if we were living with her friend at the time, her friend would help me use the bathroom. When we were living with my grandpa, I was too embarrassed to ask my grandpa, so I will hold it. And mind you, during these times, I was like, I hate to admit this, but if I want to tell my story, I got to tell everything. I was living in a diaper at this time, so I lived in a diaper for a long time when I first got injured because I didn't know what I can and cannot do. And then it's not my mom's fault and not blame my mom at all. My mom was not a nurse when I got injured and not a doctor, and she didn't give up on me. So I owe my mom the world. That being said, my mom would help me use the bathroom when she felt when she was there or anyway. So I wouldn't use the bathroom on time, and if you don't use the bathroom on time, it got to go somewhere. So sometimes I'll pee myself. Sometimes I would have the other accident, and like I said, I'll just be embarrassed to ask my grandpa, especially when we're living with my grandpa. When we're living with my aunt, I didn't feel as embarrassed because she didn't mind helping me, and my aunt was such a strong woman. This tiny woman who was shorter than my mom. My mom was probably like 5'7", 5'6". When we were living with my aunt, who was probably like, let's say 5'3", 5'2", this young, very short woman. I remember the projects, they have at least 10 or 12 stairs. I can't remember, but the shower was upstairs, and that's why my dad would come to carry me up in the shower. But if my aunt was ever in a like stubborn, independent, we don't need no man mood, you don't know how many times my aunt would just pick me up and carry me up all them stairs. You'd be surprised what anybody's capable of. Not recommending that anybody try that. It's just mind blowing. So, like I said, I didn't mind living with people because if I had somebody else with me, I had some type of hope if my mom wasn't there. So when I found out we were going to be living in the projects, like I said, number one, it's scary because we're in the projects, around these guys that I don't know. I don't know what they're capable of, if they hate us truly, what they will do to us if we once we move there. We're in their environment, and then our project home had a big, big, big window in the front, two side windows on the side. We're on the first floor. So if somebody really ever wanted to, all they gotta do is bust this big window and just jump in our stuff, and that's it. And because of my accident, I can't walk up the stairs. The bedrooms were up the stairs. Mind you, my mom was trying to get us into a flat apartment that was all one level, but for some reason they couldn't. And they got us into an apartment that had two floors, knowing I was in a wheelchair. And when they found out that I was in a wheelchair and that they accidentally messed up and they were supposed to put me in a flat, but there was no flats around, they tried to kick us out. But then my mom, she got a hold of a lawyer. I forgot that I don't know what she did or whatever, but she let them know, like, no, you guys put us in here knowing my son was in a wheelchair. I don't know if I need to sign a piece of paper that says if anything were to happen, we'll be responsible. We won't sue you guys. You know what I mean? Because you guys messed up, but we accept it. We want to be here. We want to stay here, and we'll deal with the consequences. You guys don't have to if that's why you're trying to get rid of us. And my mom had a talk with the lady, and I forgot what the conversation was and what agreement they came to, but they came to an agreement to where I could stay there, which I was like, wow, mind blown. They know that this is a super, super, super hazardous, but they're gonna let me stay here. But I'd rather stay here than live on the street. So God forbid a fire ever happened. Anyways, and there wasn't. So we get into the projects, and once we get into the projects, oh man, that's all. This is when the story. I don't know if the story's already crazy for you guys, or but if you think this story is crazy now, and I'm not even giving you guys full details, like I said, because I do not want to tell people's faults. It's not up to me to tell people's faults. If they give me the permission, then that's different. Then maybe I'll start doing it. But until then, this story is still crazy without people's faults. So, like I said, we get into the projects, and I remember it was an amazing and scary feeling at the same time. And I remember, thank God for my dad and my brother, because my mom, she was unable to go back to where we lived, like I explained in a few videos, because it was just too traumatic for her. You know, she's used to having two boys running up and down the stairs, yelling at each other, playing with each other, having fun. Her being able to yell for us to give her stuff, yell for us to come all the way up from upstairs just to hand her the freaking remote. You know what I mean? My mom couldn't sleep without her feet covered. You don't know how many times she would wake up in the middle of the night, call us from all the way upstairs. We're thinking there's robbers breaking in because the way she's screaming our name, like she's being tortured. So we run down the stairs with bats and stuff and cover my feet. You know, so I can only imagine what it was like for her. So, like I said, oh, and during that time when my dad knew she was not going back home and going to lose the apartment, he explained to her like, "Hey, you need to get all your stuff and put it in storage." And my mom didn't even want to do that. She didn't even want to look at the stuff anymore because it was too sentimental to her and brought back too much memories. And my dad was like, "Okay." And my dad and my mom are opposites of each other. My dad is not a very sentimental person. So my dad was like, "I understand that these things have some type of, I don't know, like they make you sad." And I'm going to wrap it up here and then get into more of how we got into the projects. So thank God for my dad and my brother, because my dad put it in my mom's head. You need furniture. Like, I know you're going to lose your apartment. You think you're going to be homeless for the rest of your life, but what if you're not? And you guys are going to need furniture. You guys have beds. You guys have couches. You know, like, what are you going to do? Start from scratch? You don't got no money. You don't. And by the grace of God, my dad took all this stuff out of the apartment, put it in storage, and then they just kept paying for storage until we got this project house. And I'll never forget. And I noticed now every time we had to do a big move, I was always in Shriners. I don't remember why I was in Shriners. I'm going to try to remember tonight, and then I'll tell you guys tomorrow. But anyway, so like I said, this is about us finally getting our own place. And like I said, it was in the projects, and I was in the hospital. Like I said, when we were supposed to be moving into the projects, which was a good thing. I guess it's a blessing that I'm always in the hospital when we had to make these big moves, because I don't know what they would have done with me while they were making all these moves, carrying this, carrying that. I got to pee, mom. And then I can only imagine her helping me go pee, her taking care of me and carrying all this heavy stuff and helping my dad and helping my mom. Um, and that's probably around the time. Yes. Okay. Yes. So around the time I got into the projects, and I'm gonna wrap it up here because I'm gonna continue my story of before I went into the projects, because I was in the hospital for my second stay. So from January to June, I was in the hospital the first time, and then the second time was, I want to say, maybe it was in 2006 we moved into the, I can't remember, people. I wish I could get all this stuff in writing. Okay, let me just break it down what I remember. So what I remember is I was living with my mom's friend, and because we were living with her friend, it's not her friend's fault. Her friend is amazing for giving us a place to stay. If it wasn't for her friend, we would have been homeless and I would have been sleeping on concrete. Anyway, so my mom's friend had a bedroom for her son, and her son was rarely there, but we didn't want to take her son's bedroom, and she had two couches. And because she said we could sleep in the room, and my mom didn't feel comfortable, I didn't feel comfortable, because I knew if I was a kid, I wouldn't want somebody still in my bed. Even though he was okay with it, that kid loved me. Oh my God, that kid was amazing. He's a little brother to me. I'll tell you some about him too. I had to tell some about him. I'm sorry. I got, you know me and my stories. I'm just everywhere. Anyways, the woman that we stayed with, she had a son, and this little boy was so amazing. And my bad, we'll get into that tomorrow maybe. So, like I said, we got our place in the projects, but I'm gonna backtrack because I'm gonna tell a little bit about how it was living with her friend and the things me and her son used to do. Her son was such an amazing person. I met so many amazing people who I let my disability get to me, and they would try to teach me not to let my disability get to me. Me and her son used to play games all the time. When my mom would hang out with her and her son would come, that was our thing to do, was to play games, you know. I think I was like 9 when I met him. He was probably 5, 6. And when him and my mom became best friends, me and this little guy became best friends. And me and him just got real close, played video games all the time. And I looked at him as a little brother. And I'll get into more about that and how we end up moving to the projects that my aunt lived in. And yeah, the story is really just beginning. I know it probably seems like a lot to you guys, but you guys haven't heard nothing yet. Stay tuned, and thank you so much for listening.